Hi everyone, welcome to the Solar and Storage Market Series. My name is Erez Dolev and I'm Managing Director here at RENVU. Today we're going to be hearing from Andrew Adelman, a technical trainer at Enphase, and Tony Vernetti, also a leading trainer at Enphase. I will discuss commercial sales tools, resources for commercial projects, IQ8P-3P and IQ8H-3P, which are their new three-phase microinverters for commercial projects. But before we dive in and while we're waiting for more people to join, I'd like to give a little background on RENVU, as well as some of the products and services we offer. RENVU is a US-based solar equipment distributor. We've been in the industry since 2012, and we currently have fulfillment facilities in California, New Jersey, and Texas. Our sales staff all have backgrounds within engineering and solar installation to provide the best sales service we can. RENVU carries the full Enphase portfolio and offer great pricing. We carry also Solarc and for CNI and residential storage projects and Solectria for commercial projects. We have unique mounting solutions such as the Power Field, Power Rack, which is a ballast ground mount solution. You can see it on the left. Um, and Bleakier carports, which I will talk about in a second. Both are known for the ease of installation and development. We also have floating PV solutions, and we will have a webinar about floating PV in the following week, so stay tuned. We have a spreadsheet with our commercial price list for large volume options and our upcoming offerings of solar modules. A couple opportunities to point out here are the Zenshine 550s. We also have some 450s available, great pricing, a Hyperion 545 and Philadelphia Solar 550s, all readily available now, already in the US at great pricing. We are sharing in the chat the link to this Excel file. It's a good one to bookmark if you're an installer or just to see pricing changes. I'll take a minute also to mention the Bleaky residential carport. Installers love to have this product when they are selling solar. It's a game changer for them that allows them to be more relevant than their local competitors. This is a great way to expand existing solar systems or an alternative solution where you cannot install solar on a roof. It is designed to be assembled by a crew of two people. It doesn't require any specialized or heavy machinery to install. This is a solar structure, so it's eligible for the 30% ITC and possibly also the extra 10% for US made products. It is modules and inverters agnostic. It's designed and fabricated in the US and made from US sourced galvanized steel and comes with a 25 years warranty. There are two T-gaskets options that can be added that makes the surface watertight. If you need those gaskets to other projects, they are also readily available. The structure is coming with structural engineer P stamp. You can install up to 24 solar modules with 4 columns of 6. With the 410 watt modules, you will generate about 10 kilowatt, and same with 550 watt modules. With load capacities of up to 448 pounds per square foot snow, and 215 miles per hour wind load, and seismic design category F. One last item to go over before we get started is our solar design and quote tool. You'll find it at the top of our homepage on renvu.com. You can generate as many quotes as you need in a couple of minutes without the need to wait for sales engineers, and it's available 24/7, always updated with the latest products and pricing. First, you select components you would like to see on your quote, then choose your panel. I chose the Canadian Solar 395. Next, you configure your racking system for a wide range of options: tilted, flat roof, ground mount, and carports. I selected the tilted metal roof with corrugated profile. Then on the left side, you can see as I'm making changes, you can see how the bill of materials is building up and pricing is being updated when you're logged in. This is a great way to compare the cost of different options in real time. And our team is just updating this tool constantly with the latest solar components and pricing. Um, let's see, then this page, you select the inverter. You could select also string inverter or optimizers. I chose microinverters here and Enphase. Last page, you can select some balance of system, and then you get the bill of material, pricing, quantities of each item. You can generate a quote that will be sent to you by email, and then will be also be saved on your in your my account under my account where you can actually print it or order it if you want. Okay, that's here. Now, if you have any questions about these products or about Enphase while Andrew and Tony are presenting, please feel free to ask in the Q&A section. You have a Q&A button where you can ask questions and we will see it. We'll get to the questions at the end of the webinar during the Q&A. You can also email our sales team at info@renvu.com for more information and pricing. This webinar is being recorded and we will send you a link in a follow-up email afterwards. We also have recordings of previous webinars on the RENVU YouTube channel. Without further ado, I will hand it over to Andrew and stop sharing.
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's well. I am actually going to take myself off video. I just want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Andrew from Enphase. I'm going to take my video off because I think it's slowing me down a little bit. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to share my screen. I'm sorry I don't use Zoom as often as you guys. So give me 1 second. Can you see my screen? Does it look
we
good?
can see our screen. Yeah,
Great.
looks perfect.
So yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, let's talk about IQ8 commercial today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with our new digital tools, right? So we've developed a lot of new digital tools and a lot of like products to help this system, to help you be successful with this system. And then I'm going to talk about hardware. So it's going to go software and then hardware and then questions. I'm going to really try to be mindful of the time. There's a whole lot to cover. So I do want to be mindful of the time. If you hear me breezing through something, just ask a question. On the line with me today is Tony Bernetti, another technical trainer, another product trainer here at Enphase. Hi, Tony. There he is waving hello. And yeah, so you're really well supported right now. If you have any questions about this product at all, any questions about how to install it, how to sell it, how to get it financed, anything, just please feel free to write it in that questions drop down, and we will get to it at the end of today's webinar. That's me. Hi, there's me after having built a carport, feeling really proud of myself. I promise you, I didn't build it alone. But yeah, I'm a technical trainer, been with Enphase 5 years, been in solar since 2006. Started by carrying panels around, and now look at me, just with my hands on my hips, looking like I know what I'm doing. Don't let me fool you. So first, let's talk about solutions. Like I said, we're going to talk about digital tools first. We're going to talk about the surrounding tools and software first. So we've made it our mission to be a one-stop shop for you guys in commercial. So whether you're in commercial now or you're thinking about getting into the commercial solar space, we want to be there for you from design to financing. Enphase is going to have you covered. All right. So and the way we're doing that is by developing tools, hiring staff so that you guys are really well supported, either in the commercial space where you already are, or getting into the commercial space, because we know that the residential space has become tough and or tougher than usual. given interest rates, and that a lot of people are racing towards commercial to stay relevant, right? So we want to make that easy for you. And these next few slides are a description of how we're doing. So first off, it's not just tools. So we're investing heavily in commercial, and that includes investing in manpower. And we have onboarded a bunch of dedicated commercial sales folks, a bunch of dedicated commercial customer service, field applications engineer, people to do design reviews for you guys. So they're just for the commercial market. You're not going to be talking to residential folks for your commercial projects. You're going to be talking about people whose like core business within Enphase is helping you get through your commercial projects. Wherever they are in the product lifecycle, starting from your proposal. And one of the nicer or one of the newer tools that we've developed, we've created this new fleet management dashboard in the installer portal. And that's going to help commercial installers and owners really easily view key information about their entire fleet of systems. So you'll have a one-page snapshot of all the key metrics of your entire fleet, cumulative capacity, total financial savings, comparison of energy produced to energy consumed. Just a lot of data points for you to be able to look at to diagnose and troubleshoot systems or to know what your fleet is producing. So this is really nice. And in a former life, I was an operations manager. And I can't tell you how nice it would have been to have like a one place where my customer service reps could go, because we were doing some inverters, some residential products, some different products for commercial, different products for utility. And my customer service reps would have to learn all these different portals. But if you're already using Enphase residential and you come on to us for your commercial projects, you're going to have just one place where you could see everything, which is in my opinion, really lovely, coming from trying to manage that boat turning around, right? So a big digital tool or a digital tool of key relevance to us for commercial is Solargraf. So to those of you that don't know, Enphase has its own design software. So we now own Solargraf, and we're putting it to work for the commercial segment. So that means easy designs and proposals for your projects. And not only is it super easy to use, but it comes backed with all our customer support that you know and love to help make bulletproof designs. And we know when you're making designs this big, if something's a little bit erroneous, it could cost you lots and lots of time out in the field. We want to avoid that. That's why we want you to use Solargraf, and we want you to reach out to us when you're having problems. We actually want to talk to you. As you can see, Solargraf offers tools to design your own systems from proposal to permit packages and anywhere in between. And we're available 24/7 to help support that process. So let's say that you're a guy, you're an installer, you want to do a proposal, go into Solargraf, make it yourself, fine. Or let's say that you only do one commercial project a year and you don't want to have to go through all the business of designing a permit-ready package yourselves. We also offer on-demand permit services where, for a fee, we'll make a plan set for you. Anecdotally, I did this for my house, and I actually just got the permit for my house 3 days ago. So I'm going to start building that in a few days. I know we're talking about commercial, but it's the same design service team that's working on commercial and residential. Guys, I never waited more than 2 days to hear from the folks that were designing my permit. And I went back and forth with them a lot because my city was a huge pain in the butt. And and they didn't know that I was an Enphase employee. I just kind of went there, I didn't have a code, there was no anything. And it cost me a couple $100. I got a permit package, it got kicked back. They said I needed stamped plans. No problem. I paid an extra, I think it was a little bit of money for a set of structural prints. So here's some examples of what's offered with our permit services. So do you need a structural engineer stamp? No problem. We got you covered. You need an electrical engineer stamp? No problem. So we can make your permit package as bulky or as lean as you need it to be. Now, if you make a really bulky one, it will be more expensive, obviously. If you make just like the basic stuff, it's going to be a little cheaper. Um, but I do know that it costs a lot less than hiring engineers that could do this work for you if you're not doing it all the time. So big shout out to our permit package folks, because from my anecdotal experience, they're doing a great job. And guys, if it wasn't that good, I would still pitch it to you, but I would lie. And this is just it was seamless. So that was a really nice experience for me. Now, Enphase, like I said, we want you to be really successful with the product. And that's why we're offering white glove service. So white glove is when we send one of our field applications engineers out to your site so that they could guide you through the process of building and commissioning your project. So if you reach out to your sales rep and you say, hey, we're about to build our first commercial site, is there any kind of support that you guys can offer? The answer is yes. We're happy to send one of our engineers to your site to help you guys build it and to train, to do some light training, to on-the-job training for your guys that are in the field. And that way we know that you will have a successful experience your first couple times building with the product. Sorry, my little button's not working. It's weird. Financing. So we know that financing a commercial solar system in some nuanced and some obvious ways is very different than financing a residential site. And through Solargraf, we actually offer financing for you guys to help, close deals and get your customer on board and make it easy for you to finance a commercial project. So yeah, like I'm saying, like from proposal all the way to getting the site financed, all the way through getting it designed and built, we are there for you. Oh, wrong way. Okay, so why use Enphase at all? Why use microinverters at all? Why use Enphase at all? We have a really low defect rate. So reliability, it's what most customers love about us. Like reliability and easy customer care are our claims to fame. So our defect rate is about 1 in 2,000 micros, and here's a visualization of that. So you can expect 1 in 2,000 micros to sort of go kaput at day one. Now, that's a really small amount. Here's a graphic to show you guys what that looks like. So what it really means, let me skip all these nice animations. It means that if your average system size is 100 kilowatts, you're likely to experience 1 defective micro for every 10 jobs you build. That's nothing. And when a micro goes out, it's not like a string inverter where a 30 kilowatt chunk of your system goes down. If 1 micro goes out, that's, in the case of an 8P, that's 480 watts. Not urgent, right? So, it's just a different experience than a string inverter. And then also, you'll never need a crane or a forklift to replace that inverter. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do that in my life, where some big bulky string inverter fries on a roof, and now I got to shut down a city block in order to replace it. That is not something you'll ever experience with Enphase commercial, because you can just put a microinverter in your back pocket and climb a ladder and go fix problem, off to work, easy peasy. So in the event that one does fail, the O&M for it is so blindingly easy that it makes life nice, right? And the last digital tool I want to talk about before I dive into our hardware offering, the meat and potatoes, is Kiosk View. Okay, so here's Kiosk View. This is intended for your customer, and it's intended for them to display it on a screen in their lobby, in their elevator, wherever they would like to show off what their PV system is doing to their clients. So it's going to show how much power, energy, carbon offsets, all that kind of good, glossy, graphical stuff, so that if I am a client, I could walk into the office and I could see that it has nice, clean energy being produced on the roof, and it could warm the cockles of my heart that I am dealing with this person instead of the guy down the street who's consuming, dirty coal energy or whatever. So that's it for digital tools. If there's any questions about it, feel free to drop those questions in. We'll answer them at the end of my time. So let's talk more about Enphase. I'm not going to make the assumption that all you guys are familiar with the solution at all. So I'm just going to do a quick review. For those of you who don't know, Enphase uses a distributed energy system, and that's unlike string inverters or central inverters, right? Underneath each module, you're going to have an Enphase commercial microinverter, and that microinverter immediately converts DC to AC so that there is no DC voltage on the roof above 120 volts and no DC circuits leaving the roof. This is a huge improvement in safety. In fact, there are some insurance companies that are insuring commercial buildings that are mandating this or asking for this for their clients, because the difference in having a 600-volt DC circuit that could arc and start a fire and a 40-volt AC microinverter, it's huge, right? There are no big power electronics that are existing on the roof, and fire departments love us for that, and insurance companies love us for that, and and the list goes on. Your clients love us for that. That AC output, it's sent out to a parallel AC circuit via the Enphase QD cable. Talk more about that stuff. That's going to land to a sub panel, which is going to have overcurrent protection devices in it, aka breakers. In the case of this system, that's going to be 20 amp 3-pole breakers, 3-phase breakers, and you build that yourself. That's going to go onto the utility panel, where it's going to go onto the grid or get used by the loads of the building. We also have our Gateway Commercial 2. So this is for site intelligence. So the microinverters are communicating with the commercial gateway, and that's going to be located at that PV subpanel. The inverters in the gateway communicate via power line communications, and that gateway, it gathers a ton of details about the PV system on a per module basis. So that means you are going to know what every single module is doing on your roof, how well it's performing, how poorly it's performing, because we have module level monitoring, because each module is paired with its own mic. To commission the site, you're going to use the Enphase Installer app. If you guys are familiar with our Resi product, you're familiar with that. And we have our Enphase Installer platform, which we talked about moments ago, and the enhancements therein for commercial. All right.
So just one question.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir.
just a question about the Envoy. Is it the gateway? Is it how many inverters can be connected to one Envoy?
Sure. And we'll talk about this again as we dive through. The official number is 276. But it is very, very likely, because of the way the math works out, that you'll never put more than 275 on a single inverter or on a single gateway. So, and again, we will talk about this. It's about 105 kilowatts for our IQ8H product, and about 130 kilowatts for our IQ8P product. Good question. Sounds good. Yep. Do you have a follow-up? Okay, sorry. I thought I heard you talking. All right. So again, if you're familiar with the residential solution, there's a lot of similarities here. It looks similar, but much of it's bigger to handle more power in a 3-phase service. So the main items include our microinverters, the QD cabling and its associated accessories, which we'll dive into through the course of this webinar. A gateway, again, that's the brains of the operation. A couple of CTs, the production CTs are included with the gateway for monitoring your system, and then consumption CTs for monitoring the building load profile. You can get a cell kit if you need one, but you can also wire or hook that IQ8 Gateway Commercial 2 to a Wi-Fi, like a router via Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi to broadcast to the cloud. And then if you're mounting your modules on a module frame, if you're mounting your micros into a module frame, we have this frame mount bracket if you need them, and then you'll build your own AC sub. So let's talk about the details, the meat and potatoes. Why are we all here? Drum roll, please. So this is our most powerful microinverter to date. The 8P specifically is the most powerful to date. We also offer the 8H. So they're double insulated, meaning you don't have to run an EGC to them. They have built-in neutral sense technology that allows the system to measure and manage operation on three-phase sites. It allows for UL 1741 SB compliance. And Enphase commercial microinverters include different grid profiles that support advanced grid features where that's required. So no matter what utility you're in, we got you covered. Because Enphase is built on that distributed AC architecture, it's inherently rapid shutdown. So if you look at the verbiage in 690.12, you see that the proximity of that of the inverter to the panels matters. And for us, that means that we're just rapid shutdown compliant. You don't need an auxiliary rapid shutdown switch. Funny story, I won't say the name of the brand that I was using, but that job that you guys saw a picture of me at the beginning of this webinar, I had to use an auxiliary rapid shutdown switch, and I actually I set the building on fire with it. Like when it tried to trip, it arced and it lit some TPO on fire. It wasn't, no, the fire department didn't have to come, it just, but we had to get roofers involved. So those things could be a little sketchy, and knowing that you don't need that extra component and that extra like failure point is a nice feature of our system. Really simplified AC cabling, no complicated weird DC string sizing that you got to worry about. It's just an AC cable that you're sizing. We are IEEE 1547 compliant. We are UL 1742 SV compliant. The product is, I'm going to tell you about some use cases where that we're working on right now. Natively, these are 208Y inverters, meaning that you have to have 208 service with a neutral. But if you don't have that kind of service, get a transformer. So it's really the target system, the target building for this job is small commercial, sort of that like 300 kilowatt and below market, though you can go bigger. But that 208Y configuration is really, really common. Doctors' offices, CVS, Starbucks, those kind of buildings is really where we're hoping to land with this particular product before our 480 product comes out in a couple of years. And then one-to-one design. So one microinverter for every one panel. So let's look at the specs a little more with a little more focus. We offer two different inverters. So we offer the IQ8P and the IQ8H, and the specifications are as follows. So the 8P has a max output of 480 VA, and the H has a max output of 384 VA. So most people would just say 480 or 384 watts, but since they're intelligent and reactive power sources that respond to site conditions, technically 480 or 384 VA is more accurate. Whenever I say VA, just think watt. Again, output 208 Y. If your site is a different voltage, add a transformer. The system is designed for three-phase power when it's used with the QD cable, which we'll talk about here as the webinar progresses. And phase management and loss of phase sensing is built in. So you don't need any other components to do that bit of work. The IQ8P and H have a really wide operating temperature range. They're in the freezing Arctic. They're in the very hot desert. You'll be fine. Just keep your micros under your panels. You're not going to get 150 degrees. If you are, and you are on the surface of the sun, you find me an inverter that goes hotter. In a single MPPT, obviously it's a 1-to-1 micro. Again, per microinverter monitoring, the CEC efficiency for you Californians is 97% for the 8P and 96.5% for the 8H. Now, this is without Enphase's burst mode. This test was done without burst mode. So burst mode is this feature that Enphase micros have where we'll actually, like when the sun is just coming up or just going down and you're not getting enough power to like leave the inverter on, it'll harvest a little bit of power and store it in a capacitor. And then when there's enough energy in that capacitor, it'll burst that energy onto the grid. So you can expect to get an extra 0.5 to 1% efficiency out of these micros. In case that is a deal breaker for you, it shouldn't be. They're quite efficient. Again, rapid shutdown compliant, IEEE compliant, UL compliant. We don't got to talk too much about that. If you have more questions about our compliance, please ask. So in order to wire our micros together, we have this wire called QD cable. QD cable is the 4-wire 3-phase AC bus that collects all of the microinverter output and sends it to a subpanel. So enclosed inside that sheathing are 4 number 12 conductors, and that wire size requires a 20-amp breaker. The QD cabling is unique in that it provides the needed phase rotation built in to properly distribute power over 3 phases. So if you've used Enphase for commercial before, let's say you're using an IQ7 series and you had to like move breakers all over a bus bar in order to get balanced phases, you don't have to do that anymore. We figured that out for you. We've made this product as easy as our residential. The QD cabling is available in 3 connector spacing variants, big, bigger, and biggest, and we'll take a look at those. Here they are. Let's take a close look to them here. So our smallest is what we call our portrait cable, 5.6 feet or 1.7 meters between drops. I'll show what that's good for here in just a second. If you need longer space between drops, we have this first landscape cable that's nearly 8 feet between drops, and then a longer one that's about 9.5 feet between drops. So let's talk about what they're good for. The portrait cable is intended for arrays where panels are butted against one another in a portrait orientation with no spacing between east and west panels. So inverters need to be relatively close to one another in order for the connectors at that like 5 and some change foot spacing to be able to plug into the next inverter. So if you have a different orientation, you can move up to the landscape cable. Landscape cable, it's for ballasted arrays or arrays in a traditional landscape orientation relative to the roof, and is meant for modules that have a more common frame format. So if you're dealing with a smaller module in a landscape format, your microinverters are still quite far away from each other, right? Because now we're putting some distance between them. So we need a cable where the drops are actually farther away from one another so that they could reach their corresponding microinverter. Now, if you're using landscape orientation, east-west array maybe, with a giant frame format, you're going to want to step up to that longer landscape cable, and that's its intended use. So the spacing's 9.5 feet apart. Even the largest modules you're going to want to use on a commercial project are going to be covered by that particular cabling. Now, voltage rise is a concern when you're dealing with conductor runs, as long as our QD cable. And Enphase recommends you keep that voltage rise at less than 2%. So all of our cabling options include a center tap connector intended to mitigate against problems that may arise due to that voltage rise issue. You'll find there's a center tap connector after every 6 drops, and you should wire those center tap connectors into a center tap adapter, and then from your center tap adapter as a home run to a sub panel somewhere. So here's just like a quick graphic of what that's going to look like. You'll see like in a fully loaded branch circuit of 8 Ps, You'll have 6 micros on one side, 6 micros on the other side, center tap adapter in the middle, and that's where you'll run it from. You'll have terminator caps on either side of that circuit. It's not that hard, but it's just something to know about the product. Now, this, depending on which drop you start from, this center tap plug is going to move around the circuit. So if I'm starting from drop number 2 instead of drop number 1, the center tap plug will be here. No big deal. Just always use the center tap plug that's closest to the middle of the circuit. Okay, so more on these accessories like center tapping plugs and whatnot. We have our QD cable. We have male and female field wireable connectors for making jumpers out of QD raw cable. And raw cable is that cabling just with no drops on it. QD terminators, you're going to need a minimum of 2 per circuit. If it's just one, if it's not split up, you'll need 4 or 6 or whatever, but you need it on either side of that circuit. They're for insulating and waterproofing cut ends of that QD cable. So anywhere you have a cut end, you put a terminator. The QD disconnect tool is for all of the various plugs that are associated with this product. I can't recommend these enough. You're going to have a tough time using your needle nose pliers for everything, and you're going to break stuff. So please ensure that you have enough QD disconnect tools on site to finish the job you need to finish. If you skip a drop, you're going to need these QD sealing caps to safe it off and make it insulated and waterproof. We have raw cable. That's going to be used for primarily making jumpers. You can make home runs out of it, but it's a little pricey for that if your home runs are really long. So if you're dealing with long home runs, transition to THHN. If you're dealing with like some kind of little single story thing and just dropping a circuit down to a breaker 15 feet away, I would use Q raw cable because that's going to be the path of least resistance. We have these center tap adapters. We'll take a look at what each side of it does, but we just talked about what they do, right? They tie into the QD cabling plug in order to run a home run. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here in a second talking about these EN4 to MC4 adapter cables. They're an annoying little nuance of our system. We have wire management clips. If you need them, they're intended for rail, not for modules. And then if you can make your own little adapters. Now, look, guys, our microinverter has a EN4 bulkhead on it. So these plugs down here are EN4. And there is a good chance that your module has an MC4 connection on it. So that means we need to transition from EN4 to MC4 in order to make a UL compliant transition from your panel to your microinverter. That's where these little connectors fit in, right? So you see that one side of these plugs into the inverter, the other side of these plugs into the PV panel. In the absence of this, you are not doing a UL compliant connection, and you're not doing any kind of connection that anyone at Enphase would be willing to get behind. And that's that. We sell them in 4 different varieties. The one you just saw is an almost 6-inch EN4 to MC4 adapter. That's what's going to come default with the product. We also sell a EN4 to non-terminated side. So let's say that the panel you have has Amphenol on it. You can just crimp Amphenol connectors onto the one side that needs it, and you can make that transition really easily without having, all that extra work to do. We also sell 39.4, so nearly 40-inch varieties of both of these. That's intended for if you're dealing with a module that has really, really short leads on it. If you need that. I can't tell you enough how important it is to know what your module leads are going to look like and how far your modules are going to be from one another in order to order the right EN4 to MC4 adapter and the right QD cable. It's really important to do that bit of brain work before you build your project. Here's that adapter cable we were talking about, the center tap adapter. It has a 4-pin link connector on one side that gets plugged into the center tap connector on the QD cabling. It has a three-phase field wireable on the other side, which is going to be used to make an extension to get to your PV subpanel or to wire into a junction box and then transition it, whatever, THHN typically, and then, Bob's your uncle. Go about your business. It's about 1 foot long, this thing you're looking at. And yeah, just make sure you have enough, one per circuit for every circuit you have. All right, so now the gateway, and this is going to answer some of the questions that have come up already. Our gateway, the Enphase Commercial Gateway 2, is specifically designed to work with our commercial microinverters, and they look really similar to IQ gateways. And so you got to be really clear when ordering this hardware. The thing I want to stress is that we have a commercial gateway on the market that's intended for IQ7 series micros. Don't order that one. Make sure if you're using a three-phase micro, you're using the Gateway 2, not the Gateway commercial, not the first gen commercial gateway. All right, so that gateway is powered by a three-phase 280 plus a neutral. We state it needs that neutral wire. The gateway should be installed in the subpanel where your microinverter AC branches tie in. And that gateway, it's the brain of your system. It's going to gather all the information via power line communications from your microinverters and transmit that data off to the cloud. It includes 3 revenue grade rated production CTs. They are 400 amp rated CTs. You can get 600 amp rated consumption CTs for your project. I can't recommend doing that enough. It's going to make troubleshooting down the road that much easier. It's going to make the information that your customer gets that much more robust. They don't come with it. They are an additional cost, which is not that much. And you get a lot of value from those things. So as a guy who has had to work in customer care and troubleshoot these systems, I can assure you that this ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure every day. You could use Wi-Fi or Ethernet. That's included. If you'd like, you can buy a cell kit off of us if you'd like. Here's how that thing wires up. You guys are used to seeing this if you're used to the residential product. But the one difference you're going to see is that it has a third line. So neutral, line 1, line 2, and line 3 in this case. And then your CTs are going to plug into that terminal block to the right of your power terminal block. And your production CTs will be to the left. Your consumption CTs will go to the right. I'll tell you where to get more information about all this if you need. So some quick design considerations. The real big one that I want to point to is your module compatibility. So for IQ8H, it's intended for this little 320 to 540 sweet spot. So that's what we're claiming. What I would want to tell you guys is, like, if you're using a module that is less than, 430, 420, 430, if you're using that module and you don't care at all about future-proofing your system at all, you're just looking like, how many micros can I get on this roof? IQ8H is your guy. Anything greater than a 420 watt module, please use the IQ8P. It's going to be the right one for you. You don't need a 480 watt inverter for a 420 watt panel or 300 watt. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So make sure you're choosing the right one. Peak output power between the two, 384 for the IQ8H, 480 for the IQ8P. Voltage ranges are similar, but they have different max continuous output currents, meaning that they have different branch circuit sizes. So 15 branches or 15 micros per branch on the H, 12 micros per branch on the P. Again, if you're using this P, it's really nice because then your center tap adapter cable falls right in the middle of the two. So that's nice. All right, so again, use 208Y If you don't have 208Y, you can get a transformer to go from delta to Y, 208 delta to Y, or just know that single phase is not supported at all with this product. And the other thing to know is that Enphase's core competency is inverters. It is not selecting transformers. So I get a lot of questions like, what transformer should I use for this, that, or the other? And it depends on a lot. Like I would need a lot of information to suss that out for you. So I would say that it behooves you, if you have a voltage configuration that is not 208Y, it behooves you to get an EE involved to help you select the right transformer. So designing with this system, I just want to skip forward. Designing with this system is very easy, but there's a few limiting factors. So one limiting factor is the number 12 conductors inside of that Q cable, and the other one is this commercial gateway. So your commercial gateway is going to be able to talk to 275 microinverters at a max distance of 240 feet. So what that means is the maximum amount of commercial microinverters per gateway is 23 branch circuits of IQ8P and 18 branch circuits of IQ8H. Again, that's roughly 130 kilowatts for 8P and 105 kilowatts for 8H on a single gateway. So, this is a quick and dirty of what it would look like. But if you have a system that has more than 275 micros, we're happy for you, add another gateway. But there are some things to consider when you are adding multiple gateways to scale up your site. The first thing to consider is if you are currently in an area where your utility is requiring IEEE 1547 compliance, you can't do a multiple gateway system yet with Enphase. So I'm looking at PG&E, I'm looking at California and Massachusetts, essentially, for utilities that have moved on to that restriction. So that restriction dictates that the utility only have one point of contact with the PV system on site. So if there's more than one gateway, the utility companies and the way they're interpreting IEEE 1547 is they're saying that, look, a gateway is my point of communication. If we have more than one, it's out of compliance. Okay, that's fine. So in a couple months, we'll have an aggregator gateway that's going to take all the information from all the gateways on your site and broadcast that to a utility if need be. Until then, we can't do it. If you're not in that area, meaning if you're anywhere else in the country, you can go ahead and build a multi-gateway system. If you do, you will need a line filter. So any gateway beyond the first gateway is going to need a line filter associated with it so that the gateways can keep their stories straight. So basically, we don't want this microinverter talking to this gateway, and this line filter ensures that that doesn't happen. So just make sure that you're getting line filters if you're doing sites that are greater than one gateway. Okay, so my first gateway does not have a line filter. My second, 2 or 3 or 4 or however many do. And that's what I have to say. So I breezed through quite a bit in order to be mindful of time. But real quick, we have a ton of resources available for you. So enphase.com/installer/commercial is our landing page for commercial. That's where you're going to find all of our quick install guides, all of our spec sheets, all of our troubleshooting guide, like all of our literature on the product. And of that, there is much. That's going to be there at enphase.com. Click on installers and then commercial for that. Commercial sales at enphaseenergy.com. If you have any questions, and for right now, that's even technical questions. The director of commercial sales told me to make this email address blow up. Got any questions about commercial at all? Send it here. And our what is it, 4 or 5 sales reps will sort through it and get back to you post haste. And then if you look at university.enphase.com, aka Enphase University, you're going to find webinars, not unlike this one, but in some cases more detailed, and a certification course. So if you want to get certified on this product and know it backwards and forwards, go to university.enphase.com and take that course where you could listen to my lovely voice for an hour or two and want to send me hate mail shortly thereafter, I'm sure. And if you don't want to get that certification, but you just want to get the information, meaning like if you want to be that guy that just sits in on the physics class just to like get some knowledge, all of the content is available on YouTube as well. So if you go to Enphase Training, that's our page, our channel, you'll see that one of the playlists is all about commercial. So that's what I have. I guess now is time for Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Or no, I'll keep sharing my screen in case somebody needs to go back to another slide. So yeah, what do we got and how do I get to see it?
So
Andrew,
first of all, yeah, so let's open the Q&A. If anybody have questions, this is a good timing to throw them in the Q&A area. So you have a button bottom of your screen. Just ask questions there if you have any.
Andrew, one question came in,
Mhm.
and the way that it was worded, I'm not sure exactly what they're asking, but it has something to do with, I think, any accessories that may come with each microinverter. The question is, does this default supply mean it comes with the micro standard and not extra order? Maybe if you know the answer,
Oh,
like,
okay.
does anything come with an individual
Yeah.
microinverter, any kind of adapter in the
Uh,
box?
Real interesting question. So I'm going to answer it in 2 ways. First is like specific to that question, and then I'm going to drive off the road a little bit. So specific to that question, if you buy a microinverter in a box, it's going to have EN4 to MC4 connectors with it, and that's it. So that's what comes in the box, meaning that you have to order the QD cable separate, you have to order the gateway separately, you have to order the ceiling caps and all that stuff. That said, when you get quoted by one of our sales reps or by RENVU or whoever your distie is, when you get quoted a price, it's going like a price per watt. It's going to be for the solution, not for micros. And then you'll get this other price tag for cabling and all that good stuff. We factor that cabling and gateway and all that good stuff into your cost per watt. I hope that answered that question.
I think that should do the trick. And I asked him to respond if it wasn't, to tell us exactly what accessory they were talking about. So let's just see if they have a response to me. It looks like we had a couple more questions come in.
Sure. I see one that says, how does financing work? I may have missed that part if it was earlier. So if you go into Solargraf and you build a job and you say you need financing, that'll put you in touch with, I'm forgetting the finance here because I'm an idiot. Hang on a second. Let me go back to the page. So it'll get you in touch with the good folks at BMO and like we'll be able to search for financing. I would say that like my weak point is knowing about this kind of thing. And if you want to know more about that, I would type into commercial sales at enphase.com to help you through financing. Yeah, that's what I would do.
And also, RENVU is working with Build, who is offering financing for commercial jobs. So I think it's a good idea if you're doing commercial, it's a good idea to sign up with Build and have it ready for any commercial or CNI projects. and they will finance everything and will actually give you a bigger line of credit that you can use for other stuff as well. So this is something that is open, and we will share more information on follow-up email. Here I see that Peyton also shared it in the chat if you are looking for more information about it.
And then somebody asked a question. It just says MC adapter to NC. I don't know what you're asking with that question. So yeah, go
Andrew,
ahead.
that was the person that asked the question about what is the default supply that comes with the micro. They're basically asking, does that device or adapter come with the
Yeah,
micro?
that little adapter comes with the micro.
Okay.
The 6-inch one. If you want a longer one, you got to tell your distributor and they can source that for you. But that 6-inch EN4 to MC4, that comes with the micro. And then I see a question, what are the commercial options available in the market? I don't think I understand that question. We have the IQ8H and the IQ8P. I'll try and answer this as best I can. We have the IQ8H and the IQ8P, and they're both good for different module formats. Now, having said that, I just want to be perfectly clear that IQ7 series is no longer available in the commercial market. So if you have a job spec'd with that, I would consider redoing the job with either 8P or 8H, because we no longer sell our network protection relay, that box, that NPR box, maybe that like 3.5 by 2.5 foot box. We don't have that anymore. So that means that you need a inverter that is able to do its own grid sense and loss of phase sensing, and that's IQ8P and IQ8H and nothing else. Good question.
It looks like we answered everything. Oh, there is another one that came in. Let's take that one.
Yeah, you did understand correctly. So a person asked, did I understand correctly? The commercial versions for grid tie only with no backup? That's right. For now, we are definitely working on 3-phase storage. It isn't released yet. I don't have a timeline for its release, but I know that lots and lots and lots of installers are chomping at the bit to get it, and lots of customers are chomping at the bit to get it. Because if you're a gas station and your power goes down, I mean, not only no money, but like all of your milk goes bad. There's lots of nightmares associated with that. And like we understand that, and we are actively working to service that market, but we don't have it just yet. Thanks for the question.
Good. I think that we can wrap up. Thank you very much, Andrew. Thanks, Tony, for sharing your knowledge here. And thanks everybody for joining us today. As I said before, this webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording in a follow-up email and some more information from this webinar. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. See you later.
So long. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.